Hey guys, so I'm going to talk to you about something called the vertebrate BNPs, or the basic neurological patterns. There are the pre-vertebrate and vertebrate BNPs. I'm going to talk to you more about the vertebrate BNPs for now because I feel like they're more relatable because we have a spine, and I feel like it'll make more sense to people. So the first one that I want to talk to you about is the spinal pattern. So this one, in this pattern, I want you to think about kind of embracing your inner serpent. So what I mean by that is, and we develop these as babies, some of the first movements that we do. So as a baby, you don't have enough strength yet to lift yourself up. That's why we do tummy time for babies, right? So you're gonna bring yourself down just like this. Allow yourself to yield down into the ground, relaxing into your mat or whatever surface you're on. And then you're going to initiate the movements from your head or your tail. So I'm going to initiate the movement from my head. So I'm going to reach forward in space with my head and start to lift my head up. Right, so this is almost like Bhujangasana, cobra pose, but without the hands. So I'm starting to lift myself up. You can play around with this by moving your spine around, lifting yourself up higher, lowering yourself down. Play around with it if you want to. In your classes, if this makes people feel weird by having their arms alongside them, you can always have them practice Bhujangasana, but have them lift their hands up so they're not initiating the movement by pressing with their hands. They're doing it by lifting up, by reaching with the head. So you can float the hands up, maybe play around with inhaling and exhaling. And just noticing the undulation of the spine as we lift up and lower down. And again, playing around with moving from side to side. And you could play around with this pose on your back as well. You could also do this standing, but I really wanted you to notice how it feels from when we first start to make these spinal movements. I mean, of course, while we're in the womb, we can make these movements like we're in water. Our spines can move pretty freely. So you can play around with this pose. Imagine that I don't have any legs and I don't have any arms. So how would you move if that was the case? So imagining that I'm lifting myself up and lowering down. Really initiating the movement from my head, initiating the movement from my tail. So again, if you can imagine yourself in water, you'd probably be able to move your spine more like a fish, right? So that's kind of the movements that you're thinking about. Moving from side to side, moving up and down. A lot of these very serpent-like movements. And these are one of the most basic movements that we started to do when we were a child. So like I was showing you, laying on your stomach and lifting that gigantic bowling ball head up because you're reaching with your head helps start to activate all these muscles in your back, helps start to activate the muscles in your abdomen. And sometimes we skip them. So when I was talking about when we were laying down and I was explaining how try to have your students or yourself not to lift up in Bhujangasana with the hands, just play around with lifting up because we start to use the hands as an extra help for our bodies, right? So if we're always using our hands to press ourselves up, we're kind of forgetting about these muscles and these movements that we need to start doing, and we can wrongly repattern ourselves. So I'm not saying that you have done that, but it's important to practice these BNPs to get the proper movements that we need to function properly with all the things that we want to do. So if you think about it, we're always moving our spines in everything that we're doing, dancing, washing the dishes, drinking a cup of coffee. I don't know who drinks a cup of coffee like that, but you know what I'm saying. Like we're always moving our spines, and it's really important to try to keep that fluidity with our spines rather than always just being here and allowing these extremities to do all the work for us. So that's it. If you have any questions, feel free to comment. I'm always here to answer questions.